Close your eyes and picture our planet, the world you actually know. Cities, roads, fields, fences. Farms, African deserts, and polar ice forests sliced in half by highways and suburban houses. Now erase it all. Wipe out everything humans have ever touched. What you have left is the real world where your earliest ancestors were born. A planet so wild, loud, and absolutely packed with life that you wouldn't recognize a single piece of it. A world where the Sahara was a lush green savanna with rivers and hippos, where the dark night sky was bright enough to cast clear shadows, where the ground literally shook under giant beasts we've since wiped off the face of the earth. That's what this video is all about. Not textbook history standard textbooks teach, but the actual sensory reality of this planet when our species first showed up, how it looked, sounded like, and what was hiding out there in the dark. See, the world we live in today is a quiet, emptied-out version of what once existed. When Homo sapiens first appeared around 300,000 years back, Africa looked absolutely nothing like today. Take the Sahara. Today, it is the largest hot desert on Earth, 9 million square kilometers of sand and rock. But 10,000 years ago, it was lush green, dense grasslands, trees, rivers, and lakes full of fish. Actual hippos lived there. Elephants roamed through it. Early humans fished and hunted in a spot that is now one of the most hostile spots on the planet. Experts call this the Green Sahara. The evidence is everywhere. Fossilized riverbeds visible from satellites. Cave paintings showing swimming people in what is now lifeless desert bones of crocodiles buried under the sand. What changed everything? Partly climate shifts. Partly livestock, stripping away the vegetation and altering how the land reflected sunlight back into the sky. A lush green world slowly baked into desert, partly because early humans showed up with goats. And it wasn't just Africa. Thick forests covered massive regions where deserts rule now. Europe was thick with ancient woodlands, so dense that people often couldn't even walk straight through them. Sea levels were much lower during the ice ages. Massive land masses now, deep underwater, were above ground, and early humans walked between continents on land bridges that are long gone. The wild animals are the toughest part to picture, because the beasts sharing Earth with your ancestors were completely unlike anything living today. In Europe, giant cave lions roamed the wild. Not modern lions, 25% larger, built for cold. People painted them on cave walls at Chauvet in France, which means they saw them often enough to paint them. Those same caves were shared with massive cave bears weighing up to 500 kilograms. Cave living wasn't free. You fought for it. In the Americas, the lineup sounds like a fantasy novel. Short-faced bears standing 6 feet at the shoulder, the absolute deadliest land predator on the continent. Giant ground sloths 10 feet long and over 2,000 pounds, walking on their knuckles because their claws were too massive to lay flat. Glyptodonts armored like tanks the size of a car. Dire wolves, American lions, mastodons running alongside woolly mammoths and horses. Yes, horses evolved in the Americas and only died out there around 10,000 years ago, right when humans first arrived. Down under things got stranger. Meet Diprotodon, a wombat the size of a giant rhinoceros. Marsupial lions, Megalania, a monitor lizard, 7 meters long, still lurking when humans reached the continent 50,000 years ago. Something the size of a car, with teeth watching you from the tall grass. And everywhere, mammoths. They weren't rare back then. They were part of the landscape, just like cattle are in ours. Hunted, painted, and their bones used to build homes. The last woolly mammoth died 4,000 years ago on an Arctic island, while the great Egyptian pyramids were already standing tall. The planet still had mammoths when humans were building the Sphinx. So what happened to them? Wherever humans showed up, Africa, Europe, the Americas, or Australia, the giant beasts vanished within a few thousand years. Climate takes some blame. But this pattern is just too consistent and timed too perfectly with human arrivals to ignore. The world your ancestors walked into was full of giants. The world they left behind was not. There was zero light pollution, not a single electric light anywhere on Earth. The night sky was always completely pitch black in a way almost nobody alive today has ever seen. The Milky Way glowed every clear night, bright enough to cast a soft shadow. Every star shone. Today, a third of the world's population cannot see the Milky Way from where they live. Our ancestors saw it every single night of their lives. It wasn't just gorgeous, it was functional. That sky was their calendar. Specific star clusters rose at predictable times, signaling when to migrate or when rains were coming. The Pleiades show up in stories of indigenous cultures on every single continent, even those with zero contact with one another, showing humans were tracking that star cluster before they spread out of Africa 100,000 years ago. The sky was a shared book every human on Earth read together long before writing existed. Eclipses were among the most terrifying things possible. The sun dying at midday with no warning. Before discovering fire, half of human life was spent in complete darkness. Once fire came, that warm ring of light around campfires meant absolutely everything. Beyond it, night was completely pitch black. The ancient world was loud. Not concrete loud alive loud. Insect swarms creating deafening walls of sound. Bird populations so massive that their migrations literally blocked out the sky. Passenger pigeons alone numbered in the billions. Frog concerts boomed around every water source, deafening during summer. And whale songs carried for hundreds of miles through oceans with zero engine noise to compete with. Herds so huge the ground shook when they ran. Rivers were clear enough to spot the bottom. Salmon runs so thick the water looked like it boiled. Oceans held massive whale populations several times larger than they are today, before commercial whaling began back in the 17th century. But here's the catch about a world that was that packed, it was also full of danger. Our ancestors were not watching from some safe distance, they were in it, prey as much as predators, drinking from the same rivers as beasts that could easily kill them, sleeping on the same dirt as the monsters that hunted at night. Every single noise mattered. Every shift in animal behavior was critical clues. Which way a herd traveled, what the wind was carrying, and where water hid. Reading constantly because missing those signs meant dying. Their nervous systems were wired for that environment. Ours still is deep down. The fear responses, that hyper-awareness, the survival instincts, all built for that wild setting. We just live in a world where they trigger over phone notifications instead of real-life predators. So what was the Earth like when ancient humans were roaming? A green Sahara, endless forest with no end. Skies so dark the stars cast shadows, oceans bursting with life giants white. Rivers on every continent ran so clear and teeming you could feed an entire camp in one afternoon. Then we showed up. Wherever humans spread, the world grew quieter. The great beasts vanished and forests shrank, and skies filled with light that choked out stars so slowly no one even noticed until it was already gone. What remains is still stunning, but it's just a fraction of what once existed, hollowed out and quieted down over thousands of years, until finally the people living here don't even know what was lost. Your ancestors were born into something truly spectacular. The further we drift from it, the less we remember we ever lost it.